The first time Adaobi stepped into Mr. Desmond's mansion, she thought she had entered into another world. The ceiling stretched so high she felt dizzy looking up. The air smelled of polished wood and perfume she had only dreamed of. There were chandeliers that sparkled like the stars, walls painted in rich cream, and floors so shiny she could see her reflection in them. Her mother, Evelyn, held her hand tightly. "Adaobi, do you like it?" Evelyn whispered, her voice trembling, not with fear, but hope. Hope that this new life would finally be the end of their suffering. Adaobi nodded slowly. She liked it, but she also feared it. Something about this house felt too grand, too perfect, as if the walls were hiding secrets. Mr. Desmond stood by the staircase, watching them. He was a tall man in his early 50s, dressed in fine clothes and a cap. His face was smooth, his smile warm, but his eyes, they were unreadable. Come in, he said, waving at them. "This is your home now." Evelyn's grip on Adaobi's hand tightened. For the next few weeks, life felt like a dream. They ate 3 full meals a day, something they had never done before. There were maids to clean the house, a driver to take Adaobi to school, and even a small library where she could read for hours. Mr. Desmond was kind to her mother, bringing her gifts and kissing her on the forehead when he left for work, and to Adaobi, he was nothing but generous. He bought her new school uniforms, textbooks, and even a silver necklace she hesitated to wear. "You deserve nice things," he said, patting her shoulder. At first, Adaobi believed they had been blessed with a miracle, but soon, the miracle began to crack. It started with the way he looked at her. At dinner, his eyes would linger too long when he spoke. When her mother wasn't around, his hands would brush against hers, too softly to be accidental. She felt it, but she told herself she was just imagining it, until one night when her imagination became reality. Let's learn something here. A man who is attracted to significantly younger girls, particularly minors, is often referred to as a pedophile or a pedophile. As a 50-year-old man who is attracted to Adaobi, who is only 15, Mr. Desmond qualifies as an pedophile, which is the term used to describe an adult who is attracted to mid to late adolescents. However, if the teenagers in question are under the legal age of consent in a given country, the situation crosses into legal and ethical concerns. In many places, an adult pursuing a relationship with a minor, that is someone under the age of 18 in many jurisdictions, is considered predatory and illegal. If the teenagers are legal adults, either 18 or 19, it may not be necessarily illegal, but it is often viewed as socially controversial due to the significant power and life experience imbalance. So, Mr. Desmond married Evelyn, Adaobi's mother, not because he loved her, but because as an pedophile, he had some sort of attraction to Adaobi, who was only 15. So, back to our story. One night, everything changed for Adaobi. The night that the world shattered around Adaobi, the house was unusually quiet. Her mother had gone to the market and the maids had already retired for the evening. Adaobi sat at her desk, bent over her textbooks, the dim glow of a steady lamp flickering against the pages. She was preparing for an upcoming test, biology, her favorite subject. The door creaked open. At first, she didn't turn. The maid sometimes passed by to check if she needed anything, but then she felt it. The presence behind her, heavy, uninvited. Slowly, she turned her head. Mr. Desmond stood in the doorway. "You study too much," he said, stepping aside. Adaobi stiffened. Something was wrong. His voice was too soft, too familiar, like they shared a secret she didn't know about. "I have to prepare for my test," she replied, hoping he would leave. But he didn't. He took another step forward, his eyes scanning her like she was something to be owned. "You've grown into such a beautiful girl, Adaobi." The words make her stomach turn. "Thank you," she murmured, keeping her eyes on the book. Maybe if she ignored him, he would just go away. But then he was right behind her, his breath warm against her ear. "No need to be shy," he whispered. His hand, heavy and foreign, landed on her shoulder. She froze. "You are tense," he chuckled. His fingers moved down her arms, slowly, deliberately. "Sir, Shh. Don't say anything." His hands wandered lower. Panic burst inside her like a firework. She wanted to scream, to run, but she couldn't move. He leaned closer, too close. "You won't tell anyone, will you?" he murmured, his voice a chilling blend of warning and promise. And then the world turned black. When Adaobi woke the next morning, she knew she would never be the same. The room was the same, the decks, the books, the neatly folded blanket at the foot of her bed, but she was different. She felt filthy, used, ruined. The echoes of the voice choked her. The touch of his hands burned her skin. She curled into herself, shaking, unable to cry. Crying meant she accepted what had happened, and she didn't want to accept it. But she couldn't hold herself together. She knew she had to tell someone. She had to tell her mom. That afternoon, when Evelyn returned from the market, Adaobi stood waiting in the kitchen, her hands clenched. "Mama, I need to talk to you." Evelyn placed the basket of groceries on the counter and sighed. "Can't it wait? Adaobi, I'm tired." "No, Mama, it can't." Something in Adaobi's voice must have caught her attention because she turned, frowning. "What is it? You disturb me all the time." Adaobi's throat tightened. How should she even begin? "Mama, it's about Mr. Desmond." Evelyn's eyes immediately softened. "What about him?" "Mama, he touched me." A pause. "What do you mean?" Evelyn asked, her voice sharp. "He came into my room last night. He did things to me, Mama." Her voice cracked, but she forced herself to keep going. "He's been looking at me strangely for a while, and last night, he... The sound ripped through the kitchen. Adaobi stumbled back, clutching her cheek. Tears burned her eyes. "Stop it, Adaobi!" Evelyn hissed, her eyes flashing. "Don't you dare make such filthy lies!" Adaobi gasped. "But Mama, why would I lie? You think you can just say anything about my husband? The man who saved us from the streets. If not for him, Adaobi, we would be on the streets right now begging for food." Adaobi's chest tightened painfully. "But Mama, please hear me out. Enough!" Evelyn's voice was a whip. "You are ungrateful, Adaobi. You are a wicked child. Do you know what would happen to us if Mr. Desmond heard this nonsense you are telling me now? Do you want to go back to begging for food?" Adaobi's breath shattered. She had been terrified of Mr. Desmond. But this was worse. Her own mother had chosen him over her. She didn't believe a word she said. Tears streamed down her face as she stared at the woman who had carried her, raised her, but now betrayed her. "You don't believe me, Mama." Evelyn didn't answer. She just turned and walked away. And in that moment, Adaobi realized her mom did not believe a word she said. She was completely alone. For the next few weeks, Adaobi lived in a world of shame and terror. Her mother refused to speak about what had happened. She went about her day as if nothing was wrong, as if her daughter hadn't just told her that the man she called her husband was a monster. But Mr. Desmond, he knew. She saw it in his smug smile, in the way he stroked her hair when her mother wasn't looking. "Good girl," he whispered one night at the dining table. "I knew you wouldn't say anything." Adaobi wanted to scream, but what was the point? She had told her mother, the one person who was supposed to protect her, and she had done nothing. So one afternoon at the market, when Auntie Grace pulled her aside, Adaobi finally let the truth spill. Auntie Grace was her mother's old friend, a plump woman with kind eyes and a voice that reminded Adaobi of warmth. "My child, what is wrong?" she asked gently, brushing a strand of hair from Adaobi's face. "You look lost." Adaobi opened her mouth, but the words got stuck. Could she trust her? Could she risk saying it out loud again? Auntie Grace gave her hand a soft squeeze. "You know you can tell me anything, right?" And just like that, the dam broke. Adaobi burst into tears. The words spilled out like poison. She told her everything about the way Mr. Desmond looked at her, touched her, and what he had done that night. About how her mother had slapped her instead of believing her when she told her about it. By the time she finished, Auntie Grace was almost in tears. "Adaobi," she whispered, horrified. "And your mother? She did nothing." Adaobi shook her head. Tears burned her eyes. Auntie Grace exhaled sharply. "Stay here." And before Adaobi could stop her, she turned and marched away. "Evelyn!" The shout rang through the house, startling Evelyn as she set a pot of soup on the stove. She turned and walked to the entrance, only to see Auntie Grace standing in the compound, fuming. "What nonsense is this your daughter is telling me?" Auntie Grace demanded. Evelyn's face hardened instantly. "I don't know what you are talking about." "Evelyn, don't play dumb with me." Grace's voice was shaking with rage. "She told me about everything. About Desmond. About how you let that man—" "Shut up!" Evelyn snapped. "Shut up, Grace." Grace's eyes widened. "Evelyn, your daughter is suffering and you are just standing by?" "Grace, this is none of your business," Evelyn said coldly. "You don't understand what is at stake." "Stake?" Grace let out a bitter laugh. "You mean your comfort? Your money? Evelyn, what kind of mother are you?" Evelyn's face twisted in fury. "You think it's that simple? You think I want this?" She spat. "We were starving, Grace. Don't you remember what it was like? Begging for scraps, sleeping on the floor of your house." Auntie Grace flinched. "Desmond saved us," Evelyn continued, her voice low. "I can't ruin everything because of some childish fantasy my daughter has cooked up." "Fantasy?" Grace stared at her in disbelief. "You still don't believe her, Evelyn?" "She's a child. Children make up things." Grace's entire body shook with rage. "You are disgusting, Evelyn. You don't deserve to be called a mother," she whispered. Evelyn smirked. "Say what you want, but stay out of my family's business. Else, I will show you Pepe." Grace clenched her fist. "I will not stay quiet about this, Evelyn. You have not heard the last from me." "Then you are no longer a friend of mine," Evelyn hissed, and with that, she slammed the door in Grace's face. Adaobi didn't cry when Auntie Grace told her what had happened. She had no tears left. She had no mother again. Instead, something inside her snapped. "I'm going to the police, Mama," she said. Grace hesitated. "Are you sure, child? After what happened with your mother?" "I don't care," Adaobi cut in. "If no one else will save me, then I'll save myself." So, they went. Inspector Kofi, the officer in charge, was a middle-aged man with a hard face and tired eyes. "Tell me everything," he said, and for the second time, Adaobi told her story. He listened, he took notes, and then, just when she thought there was hope, the officer called her mother. "Madam, what do you have to say?" Adaobi's mother sighed dramatically and shook her head. Officer, don't mind this foolish girl. My daughter has always had wild imagination. Adaobi stiffened. She's just a child, Evelyn continued smoothly. I don't know where she got such awful ideas. But Mama, enough Adaobi, if you speak again I will slap you. Evelyn's voice was firm, cold. Oya, tell the officer you made everything up. Adaobi felt like she was failing, drowning. She turned to Inspector Kofi. Officer, I swear, I'm telling the truth. But he was already closing his notebook. We will look into this, madam, he said dismissively. And just like that, the officer stood up and left. Adaobi's heart shattered. Evelyn grabbed her wrist and dragged her out of the station. How dare you embarrass me like that? Eh? What kind of child are you? Are you a demon? She hissed. Adaobi yanked her arm free. I hate you! Her voice was calm, but her chest was burning. You are no longer my mother. That night as she sat in her room, she knew she had no helper in the house. She knew her own mother would not help her, so she decided to leave the house. She packed a few clothes and ran straight to Auntie Grace's house, straight to freedom. With Auntie Grace's help, Adaobi left the city. She stayed with Uncle Patrick, a kind man who welcomed her like a daughter. For the first time in months, she felt safe. Back at home, however, things started to fall apart. Mr. Desmond, furious that his plaything was gone, grew cold towards Evelyn. Days passed, and Adaobi was nowhere to be found. Without Adaobi in the picture anymore, Mr. Desmond had absolutely no use for her mom. One day, he simply said, "Pack your things, get out. I only married you because I was attracted to your daughter, but now that she is gone, you are absolutely useless to me. Oya, pack your things. I don't want to see you here when I return from work." She begged, she cried, but the door slammed shut in her face. Desperate, she went to Grace's house, hoping for mercy. She had forgotten that when Grace came to her house to confront her about this Adaobi issue, she scolded her, insulted her, and even cut all ties of friendship with her. But in this time of need, she suddenly remembered her. Grace didn't say a word when she saw Evelyn. She looked at her with pity, and then she simply handed Evelyn a sealed envelope. It was a letter from Adaobi. Evelyn's hand shook as she opened it, and as she read, tears rolled down her cheeks. Her daughter's words were filled with pain, with finality. She read the message. "Mama, I waited for you to save me. I cried for you to believe me, but you turned me away. I begged for your protection, but you chose silence. I told you about how your husband was mistreating me, and you chose to stay quiet. Now, I am free, but I will never forget the price I paid for it. I saw you as my mother, my protector, someone I could come to with all my troubles, someone I could come to with all my sorrow. But when I needed you the most, you turned your back on me. You have lost me, Mama, not because I wanted to leave you, but because you left me first. I hope one day, when the walls of your loneliness close in, you remember the daughter who only ever wanted your love. Goodbye, Mama. I have forgiven you, but I will never forget." Evelyn collapsed onto the floor, and for the first time, she understood she had lost everything. The money she wanted to protect, the daughter she didn't believe. With Adaobi out of the picture, her mother went back to the life of poverty. Adaobi, on the other hand, was free from her mother's lack of love and Mr. Desmond's cruelty. She found new friends, she started a new life, and that was a life of freedom and love. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like this. God richly bless you. Catch you in the next video.